Good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we're discussing the concluding part of Robert's philosophy of third year's syllabus. The last chapter, the deflected current. And this deflected current, where he highlights what is exactly deflected, how the action of medicine gets deflected because of number of obstacles, number of things happens in the life of the person, number of antidotes, how they affect the action of the medicines, all those things which creates the problem in the action of medicine, and that he tried to explain over there. And that's the reason behind that, how it happens, why complete cure never happens to be there, all pros and cons which he tries to explain in this chapter. We have finished nearly most of the thing. We were on page number 274. The first paragraph we're going to start directly. One of our hardest problems is the patient who cannot seem to rely the old chronic with a long but seemingly not overwhelming history and with a clear picture of a remedy. Somewhere here there is an obstacle to cure, and we must plumb the history, physical, mental, emotional, to remove that obstacle or measure it, and to measure as well our remedy and its potency, to determine whether it is the simillimum in likeness of symptomatology and energy also. So what he explains over there is very important thing. Generally, specifically the patient who is suffering from the old chronic disease, long-standing old chronic disease is there. And because of which the patient is not familiar with giving the histories, the past histories, the family histories, or all those details. And when he comes to the homeopath, he he explains or he answers casually. If you don't get the characteristics of the case, you cannot definitely prescribe proper remedy. You have to match everything. And if you get the characteristic, yes, you are damn sure that your remedy will going to work. But if it is partial simillimum, then you are in query, then you are in doubt whether your remedy will going to work or not. And this thing happens specifically in old chronic disorders where reaction or where the action of medicines you are not damn sure about it. And that is one point, or that is one thing which deflects the action of your remedy. Another obstacle to cure is the ease with which the physician's judgment may be overbalanced in favor of the patient's favorite symptom. This may seem a trifling matter, but frequent repetition of troublesome symptom may so warp the true picture of the case of the symptom. Symptomatology seems to reflect an entirely different remedy than those true, but less conspicuous indications that are actually present. The patient does this unconsciously by remembering the most troublesome factors and forgetting the seemingly minor elements or minor atoms that should furnish the clue to the remedy. This happens many times. Patient highlights that he is having very severe headache, he is having occipital headache, and it comes up, and there is tremendous, I cannot sleep, I cannot talk to anyone. He explains whole thing, migraine, everything. But you are gathering together the history, and you are coming to certain remedies, and remedies working partially, patient is not getting completely cured, and this happens many times. And then after a period of 6 months, patient tells, hello, are you getting my voice? Okay. After after suffering for 6 months, and then one day he comes and he explains, doctor, please don't laugh, but I want to share one thing. I am having this problem every new moon and full moon. See, 6 months he was not giving this history, which was very essential for you, and you at the end, after 6 months, he is giving you history that every time it is full moon or new moon when his headache starts. Very specific indication. And that is the reason because of which the person is suffering. Now you come to the very perfect remedy and then you can treat. But because of not giving or not getting the proper history from the patient is one of the important point, and that deflects the remedy, that deflects the action of the remedy. So one more obstacle is that not getting proper history from the patient or not getting the exact minimum only because not getting proper characteristic symptoms. We have discussed some of the obstacles to cure as they affect the patients or physician. Let us discuss the other side of the problem, the remedy. So first, he has discussed many points related with the different circumstances, different things in the process of recovery. Now he says, what may be another reason? Another reason is related with the remedy. So he says that let us go with the remedy. Here, our first problem is the source of remedy itself. How close to the Hahnemann standard did the source of our remedy approach? In other words, how carefully did the homeopathic pharmacist identify the source of his supply? Is the plant identical with the botanical source of our proving? We cannot expect a Rustock's case, for instance, to be cured with some other member of the family if we have depended upon the provings of Rustock's as our guide. Here, we enter the field of similars instead of similimum. Was the original supply of fresh and good was the original supply fresh and in good condition? Substances of inferior quality cannot provide a good potency. With what degree of thoroughness did the pharmacist follow the Hahnemann's instruction for potentization? With what degree of thoroughness did the provers follow the instruction? See, many points he is highlighting related with remedy. And this is really a one important point one should not forget. It happens sometimes that patient may miss or patient, even though your remedy is perfect, but you would have not got the perfect similimum, it would have disturbed the action of the remedy. If patient, many times this is related with the pharmacy and pharmacists. There was one pharmacist with whom I used to purchase in early my practice the remedies. Asked him, "Do you have the thyroidinum?" He said, "Yes." I asked whether, "Do you have thyroidinum 6x?" He says, "No, I have thyroidinum 3x." I said, "I want 6x. I have 3x, I want 6x." He said, "Next time I will give." And what he has done? He has just took the 3x out of that barrel, and 6x was applied over there, and next time he has given me that barrel. I was in doubt. How can it be? Why this has been separately applied over there? Then I was just entered in his pharmacy, and I just was looking here and there. I got one bottle where 6x was cut out, and that was applied over here. So if the pharmacists are doing like this, then how can we get the result? Thereafter, I stopped taking the medicines from pharmacy. Thereafter, I have started purchasing directly it from company, or if I am taking it, then I used to take the packed bottles, not at all a loose dilution. We cannot rely specifically regarding this. And same questions he has put. Whether those pharmacies who used to prepare the medicines, really they are doing the same job, whether they follow the Hahnemann's instructions, whether they follow all the rules and norms which are created by Hahnemann, whether they get the perfect source of the remedy, whether they used to use the same specific family for preparing the medicine. These are very essential things. If they are not like that, then how can you consider that you are going to get the result. And that's why it is always better to use the standard pharmacy for purchasing the medicines. Then he says, we must be able to depend absolutely upon the sources of our remedies. And if there has been carelessness in gathering the original substance in any part of the process of making the potency, in contamination in handling the potency, or in discrepancies in the recording the provings, then we cannot but expect the current of cure will be deflected. All these details are known to be homeopathic to the homeopathic prescriber. But we cannot refrain from pointing out that these details may spell the difference between life and death, certainly between the cure and failure. In many of our cases, where there seems to be no reason to expect a deflection of current of cure. So this happens many times. If you don't follow or if you don't purchase medicines from the proper pharmacies, these are the things which disturbs you because you have selected a very perfect remedy and it is not working. Then doubt remains in your mind. What is wrong? You go on finding it out what is wrong in your totality, what is wrong in your application of medicine, whether your potency is wrong. Everything is good, but ultimately you have not reached to the proper source, and that's why you are not getting the result. This is what he is explaining. We question whether the provings were made under the proper control. How many entered into the provings? How actually was the substance, the origin of the potency labeled? Inaccurate labeling might be the difference in possible cure or deflection by an insurmountable obstacle. So, say many times such types of obstacles are there. Whether proving is not properly conducted, that is also one of the important things. If it has been done, but you have not applied it in properly, because your bottle is not labeled properly, then such a thing can happen. So such many things happens over there. All those points he tried to explain over there why our remedies are not active. Weighing the symptoms of the patient against those of the remedy is one of our major problems. But an even more important problem is the weighing of the symptoms of the proving itself. How great a value, we ask ourselves, shall we place upon those symptoms occasionally or rarely produced in a proving? We are told, for instance, that the time of aggravation, which is almost a keynote of Kali carbonicum, appeared in only one prover. Yet it has been clinically confirmed so frequently that we often think of it as one of the leading symptoms of Kalika. And when we think of the 3 a.m. aggravation, we immediately think of Kalika, in spite of the fact that Kent's repertory lists a number of remedies with this modality. So he has explained that one of the prover have shown Kali carbonicum 3 a.m. aggravation. But later on, when it was clinically proved and reproved many times, then we are damn sure patient is having asthmatic attack 3 a.m. We are damn sure that this is the remedy which is working. Then, or if a patient is having rheumatic attacks, specifically at 3 a.m., we are damn sure about the Kalika. Because this proving was conducted so nicely that even though one of the prover have said that it has been written in the proving, and because of which we get this rare symptom of Kalika. It is important that we use every means within our power to determine whether or not occasional symptoms comes from the individuality of the remedy, or whether it is a deflection of the remedy's dynamics through the idiosyncrasies of the patient, or through something the patient may do or may use that distorts the reaction. Here is a patient, for instance, who cannot take heparsol without producing symptoms, not uh, without producing a symptom not appearing in any of our HEPAR proving. A sensation of a finger and thumb were pressing either side of the larynx. Is this a valuable symptom, or is it an individual reaction of no value? Hahnemann gave us very clear directions for making provings and instructed us that in every case the usual habits and diets of the prover remain at an ordinary level during the proving, so that we might know whether or not the symptoms were produced by the remedy or by changes in the prover's habit. So here he is explaining that whatever the symptoms comes during the proving, those symptoms, how much to believe, whether they are the symptoms of the remedy because of remedy, or whether they are symptoms because of the change in habits of the patient, whether they are the results of idiosyncrasies because of which patient is showing, a prover is showing that symptom. All those things you have to take into consideration when you are doing the proving, and when you are gathering the totality for the materia medica. If you don't follow the Hahnemannian instructions, then you never get a proper proving. And if you don't get a proper proving, you cannot apply it properly. And that's why Hahnemann says you have to maintain the patient's food habits as it is. You don't have to change the habits. Otherwise, it may change the change might be because either because of your medicine, either because of food of habits. However, it is conceivable that such things as diet, etc., even if the patient had become accustomed to them, might deflect the current of symptoms in like degree to disturbing elements in the dietary. We reflect that such articles of the diet as coffee, which we are taught affect the action of certain remedies when prescribed for curative purposes, might in like degree modify the reaction of the remedy in its proving, either to completely nullify part of the symptomatology or to modify it to an entirely different picture. Thus, we must use every care in adopting casual proving. So you have to look for what the prover is doing, what habits the prover is having. If the prover is tobacco chewer, you're not going to get what you desire from the prover. If the prover is having the habit of coffee taking, you're not going to get the proper action of the prover. Such thing happens, and that's why you never get proper symptomatology which you expect from the remedy. He carefully weighed the habits and the diet and general state of the health as manifested by symptomatic reaction of each prover before such prover was accepted for the service. This data was subtracted as it were from such symptomatology as appeared during the course of the proving or within reasonable time thereafter, and remaining symptoms were credited to the remedy's action. Moreover, this procedure was well controlled by number of provers of each remedy. These details were watched with precision characteristic of animal. So he has explained that these are the points which one must be careful about while doing the proving. If the pharmacies who are doing the provings or who are maintaining the proving standards, then they should follow the Hahnemannian instruction. Then and then only you will going to get very clear proving. And if data is clear with you, then you can apply it on law of similars, on the basis of law of similars, and you can get the desired results. Otherwise, it hampers and deflects the current of proving as well as current of cure. And to conclude what he says, a word about the keynotes as a possible obstacle to the cure is not out of place. There are certain peoples who used to use only one of the keynote and on which they used to prescribe. He says this is one more obstacle, one more thing which deflects the remedy section. Keynote symptoms have proved themselves as almost equal degree of bane or blessings. With our vast array of remedies, the average homeopathic physician learns well the polycrest. Thereafter, depending upon the relationship to his practice, he tends to depend upon memorizing a more or less brief outlines of the remedies. Many remedies he knows only by keynotes. If these keynotes are used as a reference to the materia medica study, they serve well, but they are very dangerous for basis of in prescribing. If he prescribes solely on the keynotes, he may and often does remove the conspicuous symptoms. But this may serve only as an obstacle to cure by deflecting the current of symptomatology and thus distorting the picture of the patient himself. So this is one more point which he has highlighted, that if you considered only keynotes in your practice, you may not get every time the result. You have to go to the basic sources. You have to read the different materia medicas. You have to read different aspects of materia medicas. You have to go through the repertoire. All those things matters a lot, which guides you to a perfect remedy. Otherwise, if your prescription is based only on one or two keynotes, it many times it fails. And that failure is because you have not looked towards the conspicuous symptoms which patient has presented, and which you have not looked into the materia medica. So all possible causes of not getting the result and getting a deflection in the currents of cure, that he has tried to explain in this chapter. And to conclude chapter, what he says over there, the physician should distinctly understand the following conditions: what is curable in diseases in general and each individual case in particular. He should clearly comprehend what is curative in drugs in general and in each drug picture, in each drug in particular. He should be governed by distinct reasons to ensure recovery by adapting what is curative in medicine to what he has recognized as undoubtedly morbid in patient. Finally, when the physician knows in each of the case the obstacles in the way of recovery and how to remove them, is prepared to act thoroughly and to the purpose as a true master of art of healing. So to conclude chapter, what he has written is nothing but the third aphorism, which is called as miniature of organ of medicine. So we must have disease, knowledge of disease indications. Second point, knowledge of medicinal powers. That is the word which he has used in third aphorism. So not only the medicines, but medicinal powers. Then the choice of remedy, the medicine indicated, the third knowledge. Then the proper dose, then the repetition of dose, and lastly, all the obstacles in the process of recovery. And those obstacles he has highlighted in this chapter, called as deflected current. So all possible obstacles in the process of cure, which are explained by H.A. Robert in this last chapter, the deflected current. So we have finished the third year syllabus of the Roberts philosophy. And from tomorrow onwards, we're going to start again the Kent's philosophy, the third year syllabus. Earlier, we have finished second year's chapter of philosophy, Kent's philosophy. There are 7 chapters of third year's philosophy, which we have not covered in previous session. So from tomorrow onwards, we're going to start with Kent's philosophy, and the remaining chapter, I think it is from 32 or 33. Just a minute. I think it is 38 onwards, 38, 39, no, 28, 29, 30, 30. So 28, 29, 30, and then 34, 35, 36, 37. 7 chapters are there from Kant's philosophy that we're going to learn, so that there will be, again, we'll have a third year syllabus of Kant's philosophy that will be there on YouTube for everyone. So that's all for today. Thank you. Thanks a lot meeting there. We'll meet today evening at 8:15 with new remedy, Cipilinum anozode. Very important remedy in our practice. So thanks a lot and good evening.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.